Hello everyone and welcome back to Destiny. I wanted to give you all a quick update with some really interesting Destiny 2 information coming out of PAX. In an onstage interview with Luke Smith, we learned a little bit more about how they're implementing lore for the weapons and armor of the game. And it does have to do with that infamous lore tab we saw a while back. So in this video, I'm going to highlight some of that information as well as how it's going to affect the raid. Again, this video is not going to have any spoilers whatsoever. I'm happy that I've been able to kind of maintain that as much as I have. So again, here's another spoiler-free video for you all. Let's jump into it. So the first major talking point I actually wanted to talk about was his quickly referencing about the raid and when it's going to be playable. We know that it will be going live September 13th. That is the day after the first reset, and he shed a little bit more light on why they arrived at this date. When talking about it, Luke mentioned that that first Tuesday would have been pretty hectic if they had put the raid on that day. You would have had to sort of scramble to get all of your weekly rituals done. You would have had to rush through everything that morning, and you would have had to do that before 10 a.m. Pacific before the raid goes live, and he fears that people would have already been pretty exhausted having to go through all that stuff in about 8 hours time. So instead, we have the raid launching a day after the reset, giving you the entire day of Tuesday to get yourself raid ready. I personally would have preferred it on the 15th, but he did mention that they had some issues in the media where a lot of people were confused about Vault of Glass coming out so much later than the base game. They thought it was a tacked on addition. They were saying things like, now that Vault of Glass has been added to the game, it's a lot better. So he wanted to stay away from any of that confusion. The raid is part of the launch content. Trials is part of the launch content. So that's kind of why we have very little time. It's not the best situation. Not everyone's going to be able to grind up the power they need to be able to do the raid. But I suppose if you're not a super hardcore player, then you don't really care about doing the raid immediately when it launches. For everyone else who is super hardcore and is going for that world first title, I'm sure a week is plenty of time, so I think it'll work out in the end. Anyways, moving on to the main topic of lore, as we know Destiny 1's extended lore system, the Grimoire, is not making its return to Destiny 2. In its place, Luke Smith mentioned that he took the energy and resources that would have been for the Grimoire and builds it into the game itself. You'll experience this mostly during adventures and scannable objects throughout the destination. However, we have now 100% official confirmation from Luke himself that there will in fact be a lore tab for some of the gear. He even gave us specific information about which kinds of gear would be getting this lore tab, and it turns out that it's going to be for every single exotic in the game, both weapon and armor, raid sets, and trial sets. I think this is pretty awesome news because it means that we will be getting a hefty bit of lore about the raid while we're playing it. We'll be able to inspect the lore tabs as we collect the different pieces of weapons and armor, and it's an experience that we've never had in Destiny before. This should definitely make the first few runs of the raid very exciting as you collect the different pieces of gear and begin to understand why you're doing the things that you're doing. Imagine having this feature during Vault of Glass. How incredible would that have been? Or even in Crota's End, you probably could have started to learn about how Eris's team started falling apart. Pretty awesome. Now, of course, we don't have their specific design decisions for how they're going to do this for the different pieces of gear, so we'll just have to wait for the final product to find out. Anyways, this leads to the next topic, where he spoke a little bit more about the Midnight Coup. Luke Smith mentioned this in a recent tweet sort of as a throwaway when they were talking about locked loadouts and how it's not going to be a feature for the raid. When he mentioned this, of course, this naturally piqued a lot of our interest to know what the Midnight Coup actually was, and it turns out that in this interview we know that it is in fact a raid weapon. He mentioned specifically that we're going to be able to pick up the Midnight Coup, inspect it, and learn more about what the Midnight Coup was all about, because it seems like it was some kind of event. But anyways, that brings us to the end of the video. I just wanted to give you all a quick update about some Destiny 2 news coming out of PAX. I really wish I could have gone. It looks like there was some pretty cool Destiny stuff there this year. Anyways, there's only 3 more days until we get the game for ourselves. I don't think I've been this excited for a game since, I guess, the first launch of Destiny back in 2014. So drop a like if you are excited as I am for this game, subscribe for more Destiny content, and I will see you all next time.